on August 21st, 2023. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Deb Hutton here.
Deborah Meyerson here.
Sarah Howard Danson here.
Randy Cassidy here.
Cindy Canarney here. Staff present.
Christina Finley, Hand Department. Colleen Newville, Legal.
Dee De La Rosa, ESD.
Holly Ward, ESD.
Is that it? Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is reading of the minutes for August 7th, 2023. Do any commissioners have any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Deb Hutton, I propose to move to approve the claims register of August 18th, 2023.
The minutes.
The minutes.
Oh, sorry, right, wrong one. To approve the minutes of August 7th, 2023, sorry.
I will second that.
We have a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, minutes pass. Next item on the agenda, examination of claims for August 18th, 2023 for $130,678.16. Do any commissioners have any comments or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
One quick question on the Van Alstern for as far as digitation of rental files. Is that for an internal basis or is that?
For all of our rental files.
Okay, will that be accessible to the public at any point or is that just an internal basis?
It's just an internal basis.
Okay.
And it's just a one-time.
Any other questions from commissioners? Is there a motion?
Randy Cassidy, I'll make a motion to approve the claims as presented.
Deb Hutton, second.
We have a first and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? All right, claims are passed. Next item is examination of payroll registers for August 11th, 2023 for $45,991.53. Do any commissioners have any comments or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Deb Hutton, I move to approve the payroll register of August 11th, 2023.
Deborah Meyerson, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Next item on the agenda is reports of officers and committees. Is there a director's report?
I don't think John is on here.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
He's on mute though.
You're on mute, John.
You're muted, John, you're muted.
Sorry. Pardon me, I didn't indicate that I was here when you did a roll call. I was finishing up a phone call, so pardon me. Just real quick on the report. I'm going to get back to Commissioner Cassidy on on one thing with the property that we sold last year, 1306 West Kirkwood. I spoke to the owner about that, and that will be torn down, we believe, in probably 2 to 5 weeks. He was waiting on his demolition contractor to be ready, and so that is demolition there is imminent. Also wanted to report to the commissioners that we are going to be talking to the developer that is sort of on tap to redevelop the core building. You all approved action on the core building being ready for a low-income housing tax credit project at the end of July. We're going to be working with them on getting the agreement going that you all had looked at and approved some language sort of in the spirit of that. So we'll move forward on that as we get through the next couple months. Also want to let you know in the public that our annual report for the U.S. Housing and Urban Development Department, the consolidated annual report of our performance in managing our home and our community development block grant dollars, that sort of is reflective of our annual action plan for the year. The program year 2022 is up for public comment on our website. There's also a hard copy at City Hall and in the library. So that's all for my report. Thank you. If there are any questions.
Any questions for Director Zodi?
Question I have is in regards to Hopewell. I'm assuming we'll get an update and report from Deb here in a few or?
Yeah, there's a well update on
It's a
that.
report every day.
Okay,
Every time.
just making sure.
I'm not able to hear you.
Oh, just mumbling. We're fine.
Okay.
All right, is there a legal report?
No report, but happy to answer questions.
Treasurer's report? All right, not hearing any. Is there business development updates?
Sure, I think our biggest update is going to be in regards to the Certified Trade Park Recertification Program. We'll get to that resolution later on in the agenda. The other two things I can report is I attended a BEDC board meeting last week, and they're working on an updated promotion and branding plan, and they're very excited to do some more integral work with the city, so I'm excited to pursue that with them. And then I just wanted to flag, so we are working with the Mill to do some activities for the 5-year celebration anniversary of there. It's going to be Innovation Week. It's going to be the first week of October. So there are going to be a bunch of different activities celebrating what has happened there so far, but we're also going to be celebrating some things that are going to be happening in the very near future. So look forward to more detailed announcements about that soon. And that's what I've got. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Is there a Hopewell update? Deb, are you on? Deb Kuntz?
She's on, but she might be muted.
You're muted if you're speaking. John, is Deb gonna give an update?
I feel like I'm interrupting. I can't hear you, and neither can Deb Kuntz, so I wonder, it's not just on my end, and so just for public meeting purposes, I didn't know if there were, anybody else was having audio problems. So, Ms. Kuntz can't. Oh.
Okay, can you hear us now? We have an echo, but you can hear us now, Deb and John? No?
I'm gonna log off. I'm sorry, everyone, for the inconvenience.
Okay, can you hear us?
John, it's not your problem.
I
It's
think
a
he's
problem
logged
in
in
the
as
room.
me. He's logged in as me, and I think when he hits mute, it's muting this.
Oh.
All right, I'm gonna, all right, I'll try to resolve that. So I can hear you all, and pardon me to the audience and everyone else, so let me try to figure this out on my end.
Or don't
If you
touch
get to
it.
the first agenda item, yeah, okay, I'll just be back with you as soon as I can. I'm sorry, everyone.
Okay, thank you. Deb, would you like to provide your update?
Yes, I would be happy to. So just a quick update today. We are continuing to review the proposals from the blocks 8, 9, and 10, the RFI. Just a reminder to the RDC that it is a request for information. So the request for information is really to determine whether we have potential proposals that could respond to a public offering, which would be the legal process we would go through moving that forward. So when the evaluation team feels that there is substantial enough information for that, we would then take that to administration. Administration would make a recommendation to the RDC to enter into a public offering. So in the next month or so, I think we're going to be able to give you some of those dates of when we expect that to happen. So that's very exciting. I would say the other thing that just to touch on is the work that U3 is doing. We are getting closer to having an RFI for blocks 1, 2, and 3 ready to go on the street for issuance for an RFI. So think about this in multiple paths as we're at the same time that we're reviewing and considering whether we want it ready to move into a public offering for blocks 8, 9, and 10. We are also getting ready to release the RFI for 1, 2, and 3. Which is the parcels or the blocks that are right along the B line. So that's going to be very exciting as well. Both of those things were on the schedule that I shared at the last meeting with from U3 that in terms of the work that they're doing. So I wasn't going to share that schedule again today, but it is consistent with that. We also talked last meeting about the fact that we were expecting very soon we would be asked by IU Health to begin our due diligence period on the final parcels of land on the Legacy Hospital site. So we have received that documentation, and we are in the process of queuing up our consultants and our internal staff team with a series of due diligence items starting on Wednesday of this week. So our final due diligence phase before that final transfer or conveyance of property is beginning officially as of Wednesday. So the last item is, I will just mention that we do have in one of the resolutions, we have a change order for Phase 1 East. We will be bringing back some other conversations to the commission here in the coming meetings about a Phase 1 East and contingency and how do we handle change orders in the future. So just know as you hear that resolution today, that kind of information is going to be coming back to you. And there'll be probably consistent questions around how do we handle things when they come, whether there's environmental or other items that come up that may need associated funding. So more to come on that as we continue to move through our first construction project. So I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions for Deb?
Yeah, Deb, in regards to the acquisition of the existing hospital site, since they've already torn down and had everything, at our rain that occurred last week, we had quite a bit of runoff in regards to coming down off of First Street, which was creating an issue at the intersection of First and Rogers. It was causing the traffic to actually stop because of the amount of water that was coming off of the site just behind the core building. So I just want to make that everyone aware of that. So that
I will.
as
I
we're,
do know that there was, thank you for bringing that up. I hadn't heard that. I do know that they have their contractor doing some additional regrading. And so I don't know whether that happened before or after the last rain. Was this the rain that happened literally just a few days ago over the
yes,
weekend?
it was last week.
Last week sometime?
Mhm.
Okay.
Let me give you the.
All right, let me check on that.
Yeah,
I'll check on it.
they had not graded it as of, Saturday, so.
Okay,
But it was running down, it was running behind the core, coming off of the grass, behind the core building and creating a stream that was going down on First Street. And it was puddling at the intersection of First and Rogers and giving the traffic pause to even go through. Wasn't
Okay.
horribly deep, but it gave people a nervousness.
yeah.
So,
Okay,
It was
thanks.
coming
Yeah,
off
we'll
the
check
site.
into that. That's the kind of due diligence items that we need to pay attention to, so.
thank you. Good. Okay, do it.
All right, any other questions? Let's move on to new business. First item is resolution 23-57. And John, is this one something that we need to consider in a future meeting? I didn't see any materials regarding it.
That's my understanding, Madam Presidency, John Fernandez is on. It's my understanding we do want to probably postpone this to a future meeting, but I'll let Mayor Fernandez speak to that.
Thanks, John. Thanks, Commissioners. Yeah, as we had talked about at a previous meeting with the CCRs, based on the feedback we had from commission members and frankly, all of us agreed that we wanted to do this in concert with the agreement with CBU for the stormwater. They have, I believe that Vic has taken that through the MOU through the CBU process, but we still need to bring it to the RDC. So we anticipate doing that at the next meeting and dealing with the CCRs at the same time. So we want to postpone this to the next meeting.
Can you clarify, John, that you want to postpone both 2357 with the CCRs and 2363 with the MOU to transfer them both to a next meeting? Are you proposing that?
I think it's just 23.
No, I'm sorry. There are two agenda items tonight, right? There's the CCR vacation. That's one that we want to postpone.
Okay.
And there's a separate MOU that needs to be reviewed by the RDC for the stormwater element of the Trades District infrastructure plan. And then tonight there is a different resolution related to the green roof where we're proposing to use CBU's green infrastructure funding to help cover the cost of the green roof for a new building.
So with that, is there a motion to postpone to the next meeting on resolution 23-57?
Sarah Bauer, I'll motion to postpone.
Randy, go ahead. Deb? Go ahead.
Deb Hutton, second.
All right, we have a first and a second to postpone resolution 23-57. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank you. Next item of business, resolution 23-62. Approval to increase emergency home repair project at 1600 Willis Drive, lot 128. Who'd like to speak in regards to this?
I want to introduce this, and then Barry Collins, I believe, is in the room. So Barry, I'll let you go ahead.
This is a project where we are rebuilding a deck and a ramp and all those kinds of things. This is the progress that we've had so far. And this is what we're asking for. On this one, we were just going to repair that deck and repair the railings. But when we're getting into it, we're finding out it's so dilapidated that we need to go ahead and just replace the whole railing and all the deck. So these are just some of the photos before and after, if you folks want to see them. And the total cost of that would be to rebuild the railings and replace all the deck boards. And there's 2 concrete piers under this building that also need to be, beefed up and redone. So the total of that is $4,827, and that's what we're asking for.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners on resolution 23-62? Is there any comment from the public? Not hearing any, I'll entertain a motion for resolution 23-62.
Deb Hutton, proposed to approve resolution 2362 as written.
Deborah Myerson, I'll second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, next item on the agenda is resolution 23-63, approval of MOU with the City of Bloomington Utilities Department for green roof infrastructure. Who'd like to speak regards to this?
I can speak in regards to it. You need to stand.
That would be helpful.
Okay. Hi, I'm Catherine Sager, Assistant Director, Environmental at CBU. This is a MOU between CBU and the Redevelopment Commission, where CBU will be contributing funds from our Green Infrastructure Fund for the development of the green roof on the Tech Center at Trades District. Willing to take any questions.
Are there
If
any?
you do the green roof on that one building, the center, will it be taking care of the stormwater for the entire Trades District?
No.
No, just that building. It's stormwater.
For that lot that's being developed,
That
it
lot.
is taking care of a portion of the detention and water quality requirements.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Yeah.
I have one.
Ladies first.
So it says on item number 4, the RDCs shall be responsible for all future maintenance and repairs of the infrastructure.
Yes.
What kind of items would that be, and what would be kind of an average cost of that?
So I'm not sure of the average cost of the repairs of the roof itself, but the maintenance would look like obviously maintaining the vegetation, maintaining any of the cells if they stopped functioning, cleaning out the reservoir. There's a reservoir underneath where the water is stored. It requires cleaning that out, and then as you have wear and tear, eventual replacement of parts.
What's typically the useful life of something like this?
I don't know. I guess that's pretty new because we haven't had one of these before. I would guess around anywhere from 25 to 50 would be my guess. Educated guess.
And so I see in item 3 of the MOU that CBU would be making a one-time contribution to the RDC of $310,000. So where does that amount come from?
It comes from our Green Infrastructure Fund. It comes from
No,
the
I mean-
stormwater.
I mean, like, why that particular amount? Like, why
Oh,
that
how did we get to that
that
number?
number? Yes.
Yes. So the whole cost of the roof was estimated to be $400,000, and we subtracted the amount that it would cost to do detention and water quality without the green roof. So we wanted to support the green infrastructure But if it were taken off of the roof, there would be a cost to do the water quality and detention requirements, likely underground with a hydrodynamic separator.
Okay, so it wasn't kind of based off of trying to determine out the cost of future maintenance and repairs over the life of the roof.
No, that's the cost.
No, this is just a construction. It's basically the delta between doing a green roof versus doing a standard conventional roof. And so the green roof all in is, around 428,000. But if we offset if we didn't do a green roof, there's other additional kind of stormwater detention investments we have to make. So we just looked at the difference between what it would actually cost to do the green roof as opposed to the standard roof. So there's some offsets of what, we would save money in one end and spend more somewhere else. So the 310 is just for the capital construction.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any estimate of what the cost of maintenance and repair might be on a green roof compared to a standard roof? Just to compare what the actual life cycle cost is for the...
I mean, I think the maintenance of a green roof compared to a regular roof would be a lot more. But I think the better comparison would be between a green roof and other stormwater infrastructure. So every lot's required to have stormwater detention and meet water quality standards. So every lot would have, like, every parcel that's developed over a certain amount has to have these things, and so it would have to have maintenance that goes along with that.
So has that analysis been done for this project? Because I would be interested in seeing the numbers to compare, just because it's the RDC that's committing to the lifetime repair and maintenance. And certainly I understand they're maybe not strictly, trying to find like terms to compare, but I'd like to know what they are if I'm voting to support that cost.
Yeah.
Phil Peden, engineering CBU. We have recently put some numbers together for the existing underground detention and hydrodynamic separators that are in the trades district. I think that's probably the one that got postponed that's on your agenda for the next. So we're putting some numbers together for that. They're roughly $20,000 a year annually for those two structures. To clean them, to regularly maintain them, requires a Vector truck, several hours with a crew, and then hauling that material that's removed, sedimentation, trash, floatables off site. And so sometimes there's some camera work you have to do to go inside and find the debris and find that. So I think we were around about $20,000 for those two. This site's smaller than the overall trades district, I would say. So, and those were two, so it may be 10,000 I would estimate for the traditional underground detention costs, maintenance. I'm not sure about the green roof.
So,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
You had mentioned that it was a little more sophisticated to maintain this green roof as opposed to the standard stormwater maintenance. So do we have to do some training of people, to pay for some people to have training? And as that staff comes and goes, continual training, so people are up on that particular thing? First question. And second is, does the country or North America or the world have a history of green roof stormwater retention and runoff? Is it brand new technology? It's only 5 years old. In the world, it's really been in Germany for 20 years, and we're just bringing it into Bloomington. As in, is there history we can look at that isn't ours, but is somewhere?
Yeah. I feel like I think green roofs have been around for a while now. In fact, but I think the technology has really improved a lot, especially in probably the last 10, 20 years. I know that IU had a green roof for a while, but that was, gosh, do you know how long ago that was? It was a while ago, and I think at least a decade. And so I think it's the technology behind it has gotten a lot better. And to answer your first question about training and maintenance, it does require some specialized skills, but I think those are things that can definitely be trained. If you wanted to have a crew in-house maintain it, you could definitely get that training. There's more and more green infrastructure trainings that are becoming available. And then also, you know, if it were something that you wanted to contract, there are professionals who could do that type of vegetation maintenance.
So choices. Thank you very much.
So I am kind of just in general, I think the idea of using this as a way to showcase green roofs is a really great idea. I just think that what I'm hearing among fellow commissioners is that we would just we need more information before we say yes, because we're being asked to take on a liability, but we don't know the size of the liability. So my suggestion is that perhaps we could, postpone this until next meeting, and perhaps at next meeting, what could also be attached to this resolution is a little bit of a actual some analysis of what the maintenance costs would be, so that we know what we are voting to kind of attach ourselves to over the long term.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
I
exactly.
mean, I jump in? Look, I apologize, I'm on vacation, so I don't have access to all of my files here. I mean, we have operating costs, and they're pretty de minimis, as I recall, that are in the operating plan for the OpEx. I mean, it's a trade-off, as was said by someone earlier. Either you pay maintenance for green roof, and essentially it's just maintaining the lawn, so to speak, and cleaning out some of the, I guess, inlets, outlets. There may be some reseeding. It's not a dramatic amount of money. But I would just say that it's not a question. We're at the point now where, this building was designed with a green roof. And, presumably the RDC, a lot of people were involved in that decision-making. So what's in front of us isn't a question, do we do a green roof or a standard roof? What's before the commission is, do we agree to a MOU with the City of Bloomington Utilities to leverage their green infrastructure plan to offset those costs? So it's not really a question of, are you approving a green roof? That ship sailed a long time ago. What's in front of the commission is accepting this, I think, fantastic opportunity to leverage the CDU's green infrastructure program to enable us to offset some of the capital investment required for the building. And as they say in the MOU, and as Vic and others have talked about, is to use this as an opportunity to showcase this technology, which, while it's relatively new to Bloomington, it's not new at all. I mean, if you go to Chicago, I mean, there's green roofs everywhere. And so this isn't a bleeding edge kind of technology. It's pretty standard in many places, just not here. And so the point of the Green Infrastructure Fund is to actually enable us to do this and to showcase it, and hopefully inspire future developments at the Trades District to go this route as well, to offset some of the other kind of traditional stormwater utility costs that they would be required to do as part of their projects. It's not that much land. There's not a lot of opportunities for, detention ponds, et cetera. So I would personally just encourage the Redevelopment Commission to approve this resolution. And we can certainly provide you more information on the operating costs of the roof as we go forward.
How difficult or time intensive would it be to provide the details on the operating costs?
When I get back to Bloomington next week, Cindy.
Okay.
I'm just
probably
UP right now, and I just don't have stuff with me.
That's fair.
Did you have a question?
Well, two questions in regards to long-term maintenance, of course, is always a consideration when we're looking at a building that's government funded and has, investment for the technology in the future. So we need to be prudent with our dollars accordingly. Is there any possibility of utilizing any off-site detention in regards to this at all, from a stormwater standpoint?
Yeah, there's no off-site detention for this right now. The detention that was installed with this development covered the new roads that were built.
Right.
And not the individual lots.
Okay, the reason I'm asking that, Phil, is anything off-site that could be utilized in order to maximize, not just this site, but any other area. Because it all goes downhill is the reason I'm asking
Yeah,
that.
if you can talk, Mr. Fernandez into creating another lot over on the west side of Rogers or giving up one of the Trace District lots, that would be amazing. I'd
Okay.
love to have an above ground detention.
Then we'd have above ground detention, okay. And then the next question that falls right into the building design, because we have had a couple green roofs here in town. We still have one over at the Bloom apartment complex. Access to maintain this, because if it is a ship's ladder or it is a ladder going up to the roof, the reality of maintenance is minimal. Unless it's on a schedule or with a professional, because just physically getting to the roof. And at the present moment, I haven't looked at the design to identify if there's a stairwell going up to the roof. So just long-term maintenance in regards to it from a costing standpoint and a safety standpoint.
Randy, there's a elevator that goes up as well.
And it won't go to the roof. Will it?
Wait, yes, I mean, the way it's designed is the green roof is, it wraps around that third floor, what was originally a third floor. Now it's just for lack of a better term, like a vestibule. It has some storage and it opens out onto the patio. So, I mean, you basically can take the stairs or the elevator to the third floor, to a third floor of the elevator and walk right out.
So you have access to maintain?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That answers that question. Thank you. And then
So I
cost.
tend to agree with Commissioner Bowerly Dansman regarding the need for detail on the ongoing maintenance expense prior to us moving this along. I think it's important, as I've said before, to be armed with all the facts before making a decision, especially if we're committing to this long term. So some sort of analysis regarding the compare and contrast between a green roof or the roof that's proposed here and a regular roof, I think would be really beneficial for our discussion.
Can I say something? I'm sorry, Ben. I'm happy to get you that information next week if you want to vote on this next week or at your next meeting. But I just want to really emphasize something. This isn't a question of are we going to do a green roof or a non-green roof. That decision was already made several months ago. And at this stage, I mean, I wasn't a part of the decisions when that was developed or the design was finalized, any of that. So I don't know what information was shared back then or not shared. I just don't know. But what I do know is that we are at the stage of this process where it's not a question of do we do a green roof or not, because we are way past the time windows to make those kinds of major changes. We won't have the time to do the redesign of the building, to go back through CBU, to have new approvals for a different alternative stormwater system. We won't have the time to go to the Plan Commission to update our site plan. Because we have a deadline that we've inherited from the EDA by which we have to have contracts executed. So, I mean, I'm delaying this a week or to the next meeting is fine, and I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying that at that next meeting, it's not gonna be a question of do we do a green roof or not? It's gonna be, do we accept this funding agreement from CBU to offset the cost for the green roof? That's all that's gonna be on the agenda, because if you decide because of operating costs, you don't wanna do a green roof, we're just not gonna be able to do the building, to be honest, because we won't have the amount of time required to get all those additional new approvals and design work and get that back through the EDA and meet the deadline for the October contracts. So, I mean, I don't want to be over dramatic. It's just a fact. But I will get you that information when I get back in town.
Can I just say one?
Cindy?
So, oh, go
No,
ahead.
no, I was just playing you.
Oh, okay, so, Thank you very much, John, for that additional context. I think part of the kind of confusion here is that normally when we receive in our packet a resolution that relates to a previous resolution that we have voted on, that is listed in the whereas clause so that we know the history. I'm not sure, you providing context that we have already voted on a green roof is not something that I remember, and it could have happened before I joined the commission. So in the future, I think having that kind of context in the resolutions would be very helpful for us so that we know, because from my perspective, all that we received was an MOU without a list of other things that we have voted on in the past to show that we have already committed to a particular green roof. As I've said, I would like to do a green roof. I just want to make sure that before we, and even if it costs a little bit more, I think that it's worth doing, right? And I think it's fantastic that you have been working on trying to find solutions to how to finance it. So thank you very much for the work that you've been doing there. I think it's just a matter of kind of getting the correct context so that we all are on the same page, so that we know what we are committing the RDC to and what we already have committed the RDC to.
Yeah, I'll just add that I feel like my responsibility on the RDC is to use resources wisely, and it may not be whether yes or no on the green roof, but I don't feel like I've got adequate information to do a vote on the resolution as currently presented. And so I appreciate that you have the information that you can get to us, and that if we can postpone this till the next RDC meeting to provide the information that we're seeking, I think that would just provide the due diligence that we're seeking for this resolution.
One additional question, if I may, and this would be for CBU accordingly. Based upon the green infrastructure dollars that come from the stormwater, would there be a possibility that we would get ability to get a commitment for long-term maintenance cost from that fund for this particular project? I mean, the showcase of the green roof is an extremely good thing for climate change and demonstration of the proper stormwater usage. But as these funds build long-term, what I hear all the other commissioners and myself thoughtfully thinking about is long-term costs for the facility that will be owned. So I don't know where that comes from dollar-wise, if we'd have to ask for that resolution or say, could we commit to that, something in that in a time frame basis? Because the resolution that comes down on number 5 where it says, submit plans and such for alternative stormwater, if something doesn't work or there, then that cost falls also. So would there be a possibility of that, or is that something that has to be run up the flagpole elsewhere?
I don't think we've typically used our green infrastructure funds to fund maintenance of green infrastructure. Typically, we've used this to support projects in the right-of-way or greenways in which CBU has assumed the maintenance. But because this isn't that kind of situation, we wanted to make clear that we were not the responsible party for the maintenance.
And if it was on a detention area that was publicly owned in something that's either owned by the city of Bloomington or utilities or even potentially RDC, quasi-governmental, then that would fall under that stormwater maintenance?
Yes, if it's infrastructure that's part of the roadway design, then, and it's in the public right-of-way, then we take over maintenance. I think you'll get a better explanation as you see the next thing on the agenda that got postponed. That was covering some of the long-term maintenance requirements within the trades district. We laid that out, and I think we're still trying to get that fully drafted to bring to you with all the parties involved. But there's a substantial cost, long-term for us if we start taking over the maintenance of, like that private development. And so,
So the supplemental cost that you're providing here helps offset the cost of the building and also provides the stormwater quality for this particular building. So it's kind of a win-win situation on the building cost and the stormwater. The only question is what we commit our future RDCs to. And I think we all seems as though we need the information, so.
All right, any other questions on resolution 23-63? Are there any public comment? If not, I'll entertain a motion on resolution 23-63.
I think, do I read the room correctly that we should motion to postpone so that way we can we can have it, we can discuss it again next meeting?
Cost.
Okay. Well, then I will go ahead and motion to postpone, resolution, 23-63, until next meeting.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a first and a second to postpone resolution 23-63. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right. Next item of business on the agenda is resolution 23-64, agreement for economic impact analysis of the Bloomington Certified Technology Park with the IU Public Policy Institute. Who'd like to speak to the group regarding this?
I can kick it off, but then I'm going to probably defer to my great colleagues Dee and Colleen to help answer some clarifying questions. So again, I'm Holly. I'm the Interim Director of Economic and Sustainable Development. So in order to retain our technology park certification, we have to submit an application for recertification. Part of that application includes a third-party impact study of the park that covers from 2019 up to the present. We're proposing to contract with IU's Public Policy Institute to do this third-party work, and we're asking you to approve that contract today. A draft of that contract is in your packets. The study overall would cost $49,825. IU's PPI will finish their report, of course, in advance of this application deadline. We acknowledge that that is a very quick turnaround time. When we were told about this process, we were not anticipating that the initial deadline was going to be September 29th. So we're trying to get this done fast, but I also do want to share that Dee and our colleagues over at the Public Policy Institute have worked with IEDC to give us a 2-week extension on the contract. So the entire application will not be due now until October 13th. So that is a good thing, but we are very much wanting to expedite the process for this third-party analysis to take place so we can make sure that we make that deadline and qualify for this potential increase of funds. So we are all happy to do our best to answer your questions.
Any questions from anyone?
I have a question. Who's done this work for us historically, and what's been the average cost?
There has not been specifically this work done. This is the first year that the IEDC has required a third-party impact study. I asked several different firms for quotes because PPI has done similar studies for us, specifically in the Trades District. They were kind of like the one we kind of wanted to go with because they're pretty familiar with what's going on and kind of the players that are already part of it. And they honestly did have the best price when it came down to it. So I would say if we had a full staff, like if I had 10 people under me, the cost of this would be much less. Basically because it will be myself and an intern and a few people in my department. We had to ask a lot of IU for this study to get it done on time. Had I had the year that I thought I was going to have to do this application, probably wouldn't have to be asking so much of them. But it's more of a manpower issue than anything, or a person power issue, I should say, to get this done.
I have a question, just making sure I'm not missing something. There's Exhibit A, scope of work, it says see attached, and in the resolution it says scope of work will be attached in Exhibit A, but I'm not seeing an Exhibit A.
That's on me. When I sent it to Christina, I did not attach the proposal. I can email that to you in about 2 seconds if you let me download it.
Sorry.
I apologize. This one was kind of a last minute trying to get everything ready for this meeting.
Do we have a sense of ongoing? Is this going to be an annual requirement?
No. So once, this is every 4 years.
Okay.
So we apply for this every 4 years. Once it's approval, we get $250,000 per year. So essentially, the cost of this, the $49,000, is worth the $2 million worth the $1 million that we'll have, over the course of the 4 years. Now, I don't know if IEDC is going to require this every time. What it sounds like is that it probably will be something that's required. I'm in the process of trying to get us all on a call with our IEDC rep, just to get some clarification on a few things. Like we said, it was very much sprung on all of us, and I have a feeling that we're probably not the only city that's going to be asking for an extension at this point in time. But the feeling that I got from them is that they want to get all of this settled before the new year, and it's pretty late in the year to start.
So this is a one-time, perhaps every 4 years type of exercise.
I really don't think that we're going to be pressed for time like this for the next time, because we'll be ready for it by any means.
We'll have learned a lot.
Yeah, we'll have the wherewithal.
Infrastructure.
And this also kind of puts ESD in a position where it's like we just need to keep up on this. So when this does get sprung on us the next time, a lot of this work can already be done. So it's just, the impact study and getting some things. So I think that a yearly assessment of the CTP on our part would be the best course of action. I don't know how to do that with the limited staff that I have, but it's something to definitely look into.
Okay.
Well, I really, for one, love the fact that we're using IU for this. So I think that that's a really positive thing. It adds also to my understanding of the center that we would be contracting with, is that I think that they also use some there's a kind of pedagogical value to it as well that I think is really fantastic. And since you said that you asked for multiple bids and that this was far lower, I think that kind of allays some of my concerns.
Mhm.
And
So
thank you for rushing and
While you're on
sounds like
vacation. I was on vacation doing this, so I was, I wanted to get it done as quickly as possible so I could enjoy my vacation.
My hat's off to you for pulling this together and utilizing the.
I couldn't have done it without everyone else.
Are there any other questions on resolution 23-64? Are we gonna have access to Exhibit A before we?
Right now.
Okay. So I guess my question is do we want to review Exhibit A before we officially call for a vote?
Can we vote at the end of this meeting, just so I have a chance to
Yeah.
look at it?
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's move on to resolution 23-65 while we're looking to finish Exhibit A on resolution 23-64. So approval of change order to project agreement with Milestone Contractors, LP, for Hopewell Phase 1 East. Who'd like to speak to us regarding this?
I will. Roy Aiken, I'm with City Engineering Department. So Hopewell Phase 1 East, we've started construction, as you're well aware. And this is our change order number 1. This change order is for some tree removal that's required for the infrastructure to be put in. So it's kind of upfront, something we need to get done. The reason it wasn't included in the original bid was we knew the trees had to be removed for the project, but we didn't have access to the properties yet at the time of bid. So we went ahead with bid, pulled these out, knowing that once we have access to the properties, we could move in and do a change order to get these trees removed. So there's a few trees that are around the Centerstone building, and then a couple of trees that are down around the St. John Associates building that's on site. Total cost of the change orders, $10,053.38.
You know how many trees?
No, I don't. I've got a lump sum bid on it, but roughly it's between 6 to 8 trees, I think, total. They're all different sizes. We did look at the prices though, and the prices are right in a good range for this, so. Yeah.
I'm a little confused. Maybe there's a typo. In the last whereas clause on the bottom of the first page of the resolution, it says that this would modify the existing agreement from $13,373,284.90 to over $13,800,000. So I think that
500,000.
there's, so I thought that it was a lot. So it seems like there's a typo that needs to be.
500,000 change.
Yeah, it was a $500,000 change rather than a $10,000 change.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's what I was like, why is it gonna cost $500,000 trip?
And that's what it is. It's, yeah, because the final contract amount's $13,383,338.28. So it looks like an 8 and a 3 got transposed there.
And
on
it's
that
also,
number.
it's also, again, as well in number 2, for now therefore be it resolved, it's replicated there as well. That big change.
All right, are there
Yep.
any other questions on resolution 23-65 from commissioners?
This part, since it was removed, Roy, from the original, it was calculated into a contingency basis, or?
You know, I wasn't part of the original contract and building and getting it out, so I'd have to double check to make sure how it was removed. I was, just know that it's not currently in the original contract, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions on resolution 23-65 from commissioners? Are there any public comment? All right, I'll entertain a motion for resolution 23-65.
Deb Hutton, I move to approve resolution 2365 with the 2 critical changes in numbers. In the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Such that the change order is really
Reflects.
only increasing the cost by $10,053.38. I'll second.
All right, we have a first and a second on the revised resolution with the corrections. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, moving on. Next item of business is resolution 23-66. I can get back to that part. Approval for an extension of time and increase in funding for Tandem.
Madam President, Matt Swinney, our CDBG Fiscal Improvements Program Manager, is going to speak to the next 2 resolutions, actually. So I'll turn it over to Matt and let him move ahead.
All right, thank you. Matt?
So the first one, we're asking for an extension of time and an increase in the funding. Tandem, this was the first time they applied for funds, so they were on a steep learning curve. There was a lot of increases from when they originally had bid their project and when they found out about some of the other rules and regulations that go along with CDBG, like the Davis-Bacon wages. They had to seek different contractors to do the work, which also raised the cost of the project quite a bit. So both of those together had necessitated the extension of time for them to get the project done and the increase in funding.
Any questions from commissioners on resolution 23-66?
Will this complete what they need in order to get them operational, move without any future?
This will get their ADA ramps and the railings and everything completed the way it should be to code.
And that get them in operation where they need to function to take care of their customers. Okay.
What kind of resources does the hand department have to provide support to CDBG applicants that may not have a lot of experience with administering CDBG funding? So that I'm just trying to get a sense of, like, is there any lessons learned here that could be applied for future applicants so that new applicants can have a little easier ride of it?
Yeah, we're working on, especially on the physical improvement side, because there's a lot of stuff like the Davis-Bacon that people aren't very familiar with. I'm working with the new council, Audrey Brittingham. Once we get the allocation and we're ready to provide the funding, we will meet with them and go through the process, top to bottom, as far as the bidding and the Davis-Bacon wages and claims submittal and all, the whole thing. So we're working on putting more training into the process as we get into who's going to be funded.
Is that likely to come at the application stage, so when they're putting together a budget for a CDBG submission proposal, that they know they have to account for Davis-Bacon wages as part of that, you know, as opposed to realizing it after they've been awarded and have to then increase the award?
We do an initial run-through training with all applicants at the beginning. Information is provided. Whether or not they totally grasp that information is hard to tell until we really get into the process. So we do have training before they actually do submit their application.
Thank you.
And if I may mention a couple other things, Matt's been sort of leading the department's effort on the implementation of what's called Neighborly software. It's a software system that will make the process for a lot of our programs a little more seamless, rather than, for instance, applicants submitting applications by email. It'll be a portal basically that they have, and so there will be a lot more, we hope, streamlined information. Maybe for this next cycle, it may take till the 24 cycle of CDBG, but trying to streamline that and make sure that that people have more of a resource to go to besides just staff. But it's a new software system that we bought for our federal programming this spring. And then of course the environmental review process, which all of you know about. We have engaged a consultant there to help the department through those processes, which will then give applicants for CDBG and other programs a better idea of what we need at the outset, so that we can keep that process moving more quickly.
All right, any other questions from commissioners on resolution 23-66? Any comments from the public? Not hearing any, I'll entertain a motion for resolution 23-66.
I'll make a motion to approve 23-66.
Yeah, second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, resolution passes. Next item on the agenda is resolution 23-67. And I guess, Matt, you're up again.
Okay. This is a middle way house project, and they're one of our recipients that come back year after year, so they typically know what's going on. But they've had massive employee overturn here in the past year, and a lot of the people that left were the ones that worked on the grant funding. So everything got put on hold for them, and they've had to bring new staff on and get things moving again. So we needed to extend the deadline for them so that they could get their project completed, which is actually completed now. We just needed to get the date on the funding agreement changed so then we can give them their money.
All right, any questions from commissioners on resolution 23-67? Any comments from the public? I'll entertain a motion on resolution 23-67.
Make a motion to approve 23-67.
I'll second.
First and a second, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, resolution passes. Next item on the agenda is general business. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, thank you for that. So going back to resolution, let me get back to the agenda. Did everybody have a chance to review the Exhibit A on the resolution 23-64?
Take a really quick look.
Is it generally our policy to accept indirect or to pay indirect costs on projects to IU?
As to whether or not it's with IU, I have no idea if there's anything specific to IU in general. Generally, the way we would do it is if they submit their their invoices to us for what they need. I can clarify with Tom what they mean by indirect cost.
So indirect costs are with any any project that is routed through a university. The university retains what are called ICRs, indirect cost recoveries, and I would just be very curious to know what the university is charging on indirects, because for instance, on grants they charge 57%, so they basically double. They more than double the costs. I want to make sure that that IU is not doing that on this particular thing. I think we need to move ahead and
That is a really good point. Thank you.
So I think we still need to move ahead and because you're on a timeline, but I think in general, especially if the idea is to use them in the future, we need clarification kind of moving forward. I don't want to hold this up today, but I just know that there's that they can take a lot. They can, and there is a point to it, right? That the people that are the Policy Institute is using the IU space, right? And so the whole point is that it's to pay overhead, right? And I just want to make sure that it's being paid out at a kind of a reasonable amount for the city.
It's a really good point that you bring up. Yeah, I did not. I've actually had to deal with that with them before, but did not really think about it in this context. It was in a smaller context.
We're rushing to get it done. Yeah.
Right.
Just curious.
Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, just to speak directly to that. The estimated cost, including PPI data sets, salaries and benefits, economic modeling data sets, university indirect costs, and general administrative costs, 49,000.
Yeah.
So they've actually said university indirect costs and seem to include it in that 49,000.
It's just what portion is it?
Because they don't.
It's not broken down.
And they don't
Right,
break
they're just
down.
popping it in there.
Yeah, and that was it. My question is not about indirect costs or just kind of typically a contract like this would be done on a billable hour basis, and so I'm just curious in terms of, I mean, obviously different consultants can do stuff different ways, but I'm just also thinking that the city would. Do you have contracts on a flat rate basis like this? It just seems a little unusual to me.
Some projects at IU are flat based.
Well, I'm talking about the city though, in terms of how they're accounting for the use of the funds. It's a little unusual to do it on a flat rate basis, and I'm just clarifying that.
No, I've definitely had some contracts that have been flat rate based contracts.
Okay.
I mean, I think that there's been like budget, just to like break it down in the budget to be like, so if we were doing this hourly, this is what it would be. But
sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to.
Oh no, totally.
Unusual. Thank you.
The one positive thing in regards to this, we have a not to exceed cost. So it can come in less, but if it takes them longer to meet your time frame that's necessary because of the compaction, we have a not to exceed. So we know we're not going to.
But it's
go
not
over.
being even billed on an hourly basis. Basically, it's being billed in 3 invoices. So it looks like it's just a flat rate that's not, I mean, it's not to exceed, but there's also no variability in how it's being billed. So.
Randy, where do you see the term not to exceed?
Not to exceed in the
That's what I've been looking for.
fifth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 whereas. Serves for an amount not to exceed 49,000.
Oh, in the resolution, okay. It's not on the exhibit.
Scope.
No, it's not in the exhibit, it's in the where, So that was where, if, we have a time constraint that we're working with, and it would be nice to have an hourly cost and the ICR.
Well, but if
But
the hourly
we don't.
cost,
It is what
that
it is.
actually is better for us,
Right.
not so much for IU, because if it goes over, they eat that cost. You're
Exactly.
saying, they're saying,
it.
willing to say, this is the cost, period, and
Period.
cents to the penny. They haven't even seemingly built, well, they may have built in a small contingency, but they do have a not to exceed, so
But they're not,
we're okay. I personally have worked with that before, so.
not to exceed and to meet a compacted time frame. Yeah, and you
As
feel
proposed.
they can deliver, and based on the gentleman's gonna sign it and his experience, I would agree that they can provide.
Yeah, I had many referrals from people from the city and other city partners that were like, this is probably the track that you should go. So
Well, I'm glad that you pointed out the not to exceed, because that's what I was looking for, and that makes me feel a lot better. So with that, are there any other questions on resolution 23-64 from commissioners? Any comment from the public?
I had a question. Dave Askins with the Beachford Bulletin. So Dee mentioned the $250,000 that comes annually, I guess. I didn't see that anywhere in the materials, so I missed it. So I might follow up with Dee after the meeting to try to track that down, and she might just point at the packet and say, look there, Dave. But
It was in the last packet.
okay. But my question that I came to the meeting with was, how far is Bloomington's certified tech park from reaching the cap? There's like this lifetime cap, as I understand it, of $5 million.
We've exceeded it.
We have exceeded it. Okay, and I might follow up with you to ask you how we managed to do that after the meeting.
I'll try and answer that, but it was definitely before me, so
Okay.
I may not have all the answers.
Appreciate it, thank you.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for resolution 23-64.
Make a motion to approve resolution 23-64.
Deb Hutton will second.
Have a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Anyone opposed? All right, resolution passes. Next item on the agenda is any general or business discussion for the group.
I just want to offer my apologies for the audio issues at the beginning of the meeting. It appears to be a Monday where my computer is concerned.
Well, if that's the worst thing that happens, we're all doing pretty well. So with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Deb Hutton.
All right, good night, everyone.
Good night, thanks.
Thank you.